Hello, CX Fiends. Welcome back to another episode of CXTV. I think we're in Druid Hill Park for day 2 of Charm City Cross, the third stop on the USCX series. We've got the men on tap today. Bill, what are we looking for?
Well, before we get into that, Bodie, I just want everybody to know out there, you are like one take Bodie. You know, we sit down, you do it, and we're done, and it's perfect. Men's elite race. What we have Andrew Strohmeyer that ran away from it from Eric Bruner yesterday, but he had a little help, a crash, a changed shoe, had Bruner on his heels.
Yeah.
And and that meant that it was an easier day for Strohmeyer. I know Bruner is going to be chomping at the bit to get out ahead early and try to take this one and even the series back up. So those, of course, are the two riders out front we're going to be looking at. We've had some great chases from behind, though. We got Tyler Clark, Jules Van Kempen yesterday. Kerry Werner is always in the mix, Tofik Bashir. So, yeah, we got a great race ahead of us, so we should really check out the action and see what happened.
Let's get into it now.
Let's do it.
We are at the start line of the men's elite race, day 2 of Charm City Cross. We have all of our riders ready to go, and there is the start coming down this descent into an ascent up through the first curves of the Charm City, finishing straight. Fast start into the past the ball fields. We got Bruner out front. Looks like Cody Scott in second. Tyler Clark in third. Strohmeyer a little farther down, about 6th, 7th place. Bruner really pushing the pace today. Yesterday, he's had the crash and the shoe issue, and was not coming into this race real happy about his performance yesterday. Really had it looking like he has something to prove early on it, and he is making everybody else hurt. He's got his teammate on his wheel, Cody Scott, hanging out there in second place. Tyler Clark still in third. Looks like Zakrajcek in 4th place. And Strohmeyer in 5th. Jules Van Kempen in 6th. This is the lead up to the Mansion Hill. You can see we've already... Oh, nice move by Strohmeyer there. Slot himself into 4th place, getting ahead of Zakrajcek. This is different from day 1. Today we have this big square up here. We're 1, 2. They're on the third leg of the square before they make this right-hand turn and start the climb towards Mansion Hill. This gives a lot of opportunities to really ramp up the power and go. Really plays into Bruner's strengths here. As you can see, he is just stringing it out early in this one. If anybody thought it was going to be a slow start today, they were mistaken. It is all out from the gun. Dismount, in years past, this has been rideable. Not this year. Everybody running, it's much faster. Just not able to make that tight turn into the run up to the top of Mansion Hill. Bruner already spreading it out. Strohmeyer struggling a little bit on this. We saw this yesterday. The book on these guys: Bruner power guy, Strohmeyer technical guy. But I will tell you that I really think that Bruner, for this feature, for that Mansion Hill, which is a single track Mansion Hill where there's a lot of pedal strikes, he has the advantage here over Strohmeyer, which is a bit of a surprise. Coming down the pavers, this was the climb yesterday, and it's now just a screaming fast descent. And this is reversed as well, coming past Club Row. They've moved the planks. Planks are now on Club Row right there. And then they go into the flyover. Flyover was beginning of the lap yesterday, closer to the end of the lap, last third of the lap today. Bruner leading it through, Strohmeyer second, Cody Scott in third, Tyler Clark still in 4th. Got Zakrajcek trying to get back on, and Tofik Bashir making a move. Jules Van Kempen dropping a little farther back than I'm sure he's comfortable with. He's going to want to move up and look for that podium position like he had yesterday. Kerry Werner also in that group. This looks like Drummond coming in, the 4th comp edge rider. Through pit 2, again out of the saddle for Bruner, continuing to push the pace. Strohmeyer now is slotted into that 2nd position with Scott falling back to 3rd and Clark in 4th place. Last couple turns into this tricky off-camber section. Unlike yesterday where the men were racing with a little bit of rain, just bone dry today, but hot. Much hotter than it was yesterday. So that definitely is going to play into it, just having to have that heat, dealing with racing in the heat again, like we had in Roanoke earlier in the year. Up and over the second flyover, and this will take us to the end of lap 1. Through the start for lap 2, no rest. Usually we see everybody kind of slowing down during on the pavement for the starts. Not the case here. Everybody just rolling through there, continuing to go hard, and that's all. Everybody behind can just blame Eric Bruner for that. He is relentless in this race so far. This is just a full-out first lap, and just going into the second lap, in his head he's just looking to hurt people and wants this race to break up. So far, though, everybody seems up to the task. We got Bruner there, Strohmeyer still in second, Tyler Clark in third. Maybe a little bit of a gap, couple bike lengths back. We'll see who's in fourth place. That looks like Cody Scott's still there with Taufik Bashir on his wheel, Zakrajcek after that, and then Kerry Werner and Jules Van Kempen. That's your lead group. Those are the players that we've seen so far. Those are the top riders in North American cyclocross this season. This is a familiar trio we've seen at the front of these races. Got Bruner, got Strohmeyer, got Clark. It looked like Strohmeyer really itching to get by in that turn, not able to do it. The goal here, we talked about this cube. That's where we are now. Here's the third leg again of it. Just these 3 long straights before you make the right turn to the 4th long straight that's uphill, and then we hit Mansion Hill. That's where we're on right now. This is the last one. Everybody wants to go into this first. That's the key. It's the race to the base of Mansion Hill. Bruner won it again there, because here's the tricky part. You're going downhill. You're dismounting. It's awkward. It's off camber. You got to make that hard left turn. And then it's the decision, where do you get back on? Where do you have that momentum to get back on? Get into that single track. Know that you're probably going to strike a pedal high side if you're not perfectly in the center of that. As you can see, Strohmeyer getting it a little bit wrong, having to unclip, having to go down. That gives Bruner a couple bike lengths lead. Down the path one more time. Bashir now in 4th place. Kerry Werner trying to get on his wheels. Zakrajcek. Jules Van Kempen, and then Cody Scott to the planks one more time, up and over. See Strohmeyer riding where Bruner is running. In years past, with the planks in that position, that was a huge advantage, because those planks then led underneath the flyover, which you can see right there, and went straight to the finish. So if you were able to stay on your bike over those planks, you really had just this momentum that could take you to a win on the finish. Here it's really that advantage is neutered, because you go over the planks and then you're right into the run-up. So any advantage you may have had, you have to dismount, not the run-up. Yeah, you have to dismount for the flyover. So you have to dismount and climb up those steps. So what has been the kind of the book on Charm City in the past on day 2 has changed this year, with that sort of reconfiguring of having the flyover much later in the lap. Looking at Kerry Werner, Taufik, Jules Van Kempen trying to get on there with our pair of comp edge, like Cody Scott and Dylan Zakrajcek. Those guys are almost inseparable in these races. Coming around the last bends to finish this lap, it's Bruner and Strohmeyer once again at the front. Your Pan Am champ, your U.S. national champ. These guys know every move the other one has at this point. There are no secrets held between Strohmeyer and Bruner. So we see Bashir, Jules Van Kempen on the flyover, coming down, again, pushing it. As I was saying, traditionally, in cyclocross. When you get to this section, you're on the tarmac, you're on the finishing straight. That's when you get your bottle, you get a drink. Everybody's kind of the same mindset. You sit up, you relax, and then you get ready to go again. That's not happening here. It's just full on for the whole time. And the two guys at the front are just not letting anybody else play in their reindeer games. They're going off, and it's up to them to try to stay up. And so far, Tyler Clark's fallen off, still keeping in that third place. Kerry Werner chasing him down now. Jules Van Kempen on his wheel. Bruner, you can see coming into that turn so hot, just bending the tape as he comes to this climb. Deceptive climb here. This is much steeper than it looks. This is a really hard effort followed by an even harder effort because you have to output so much power, and then you get into this technical section that's also depleting your power as well. Watching Van Kempen right up on Werner's wheel. Both of those riders trying to track down Tyler Clark, looking for that final position on the podium. Still early in the race, but it's Bruner and Strohmeyer so far ahead that it's already a battle for third place between the chasers. All right, here we are, pit 2. Our leaders are still together. You can look back, the gap's still starting to grow between Tyler Clark. We talked to Tyler Clark about just being out there in these races. It seems like he's racing alone a lot, and he seemed fine with it, especially at Rochester when it was a much more technical course. I wonder if he's feeling the same in this race where it's really just these long stretches and really having nothing to do except looking ahead to try to catch those two. But now he has to look behind as well because he has this pair of Werner and Van Kempen chasing him down. The North Carolina roots coming for him. As soon as I said Clark was on his own and alone, it looks like he's closing up and making contact. So maybe, these big efforts that Bruner was putting in, just really trying to hurt Strohmeyer and the rest of the field, maybe there's a little bit of a détente here as we get into lap 3, even to the point that Strohmeyer's like, all right, if you're going to sit up, if you're going to take the oomph out of this race, I'm going to take advantage of that. So he goes to this front, looks like for the first time. I'm sure Bruner's fine with that, just sitting on that wheel. But that sort of back and forth and that slowing down gave Tyler Clark the opportunity to get into it, and he's not satisfied just sitting on wheels. Goes right by Bruner, gets onto Strohmeyer's wheel. They let him back in, and he's going to take advantage of that opportunity. So whole new dynamic now with Tyler Clark integrating himself into the front of this race. We're back in our power cube. This is leg number 1 of it. Now on to leg number 2. Strohmeyer pushing it. As I said the last lap, this is where you want to be. You want to be out front as you come into this turns. Bruner knows that, makes the pass, gets back into second place on Tyler Clark. I'm sure he's going to want to get in front of Strohmeyer as well by the time they get to Mansion Hill. Only little tricky chicane in that breaks up a long, minute-long section of power. Power, that little chicane, and now another power section before we get to Mansion Hill. Up and out of the saddle for Strohmeyer. Calm and relaxed by Bruner, right on his wheel. Doesn't look like he's really going too hard to be able to keep that pace as we hit Mansion Hill one more time. Again, this tricky left-hand turn. Watch the dismounts. Strohmeyer does a great job keeping his momentum while dismounting. He's able to do that, and by him slowing down and doing it smoothly, it means everybody behind has to slow down that little bit more, which means that they're coming to a complete stop and then having to restart again. So just, there are no disadvantages of being in the front of the field at this point. So with Strohmeyer out front, his pace probably not the same as what Bruner was putting in before, and what this has done is it's allowed this group of 5 to come back together. So we got Strohmeyer, Bruner, Clark, and now Jules Van Kempen and Kerry Werner have all integrated into the front. So now we have a group of 5 up front as they make it over the planks. Up and over the flyover. Strohmeyer continues to lead. Bruner on his wheel. Clark in third. Van Kempen now slotted into fourth with the wily Kerry Werner tail gunning, just watching. You know, he's just waiting. He's just looking around. He's taking it all in, assessing the situation, and seeing if there's any opportunities for him to jump. Through this jungle oasis. Oh, and Tyler Clark goes down. Tyler Clark slides out. That allows Van Kempen to get in there. You can see Van Kempen up and out of the saddle. He's like, all right, this is my opportunity to get into third place and get right on Bruner's wheel, which he does. Werner is able to go into fourth. Clark now has to put in efforts that I know he didn't want to. Has to burn a match just to try to get back into fifth place. That's the slippery conditions in dry conditions. You know, this isn't the wet, but it's so dusty back in that little oasis section. There are such twisty turns. And Clark got one wrong. Wheels did not catch for him, and he went down, and now he's got to exert some effort to get back on there. Looks like he's back to Werner's wheel, but I'm not sure they're going to give him a lot of opportunity to catch his breath and rest, because we've been just flying down this start section. Looks like people are grabbing bottles this time, so maybe a little bit less of a drag race on the start straight as Clark makes it back to Werner's wheel, and this group of 5 is back together. Back again to our power cube. Bruner able to take control this lap. It was Strohmeyer last lap. This right turn here is just like, this is where your sprint starts every lap. This is where everybody's jockeying for position, coming around this right-hand turn and is up and out of the saddle and going. Look at that. Jules Van Kempen, a little bit of an issue, and that gap just opens so fast. You know, it's almost like Bruner and Strohmeyer both had the same idea to attack there. Jules got it just a little bit wrong, and that just allowed this gap to open up. You know, I think both of them had the same idea. So they really didn't hurt each other. They just hurt the rest of the 3 in this group. Up to the top of Mansion Hill. Clean remounts for both of our leaders. You can see that little section that Strohmeyer seems to have a problem with every time through. There's a little dip that he slides down. He was able to keep clipped in that lap, but you know, a couple laps before, that's where he went foot out and had to rebalance and go, which gave up a couple bike lengths. Not the case here, as 1 and 2 are just locked in together. Back to that oasis section, back where Clark had the mishap last lap. We're just seeing it from a different angle this time through. With Van Kempen having that little bit of an issue on the sprint to Mansion Hill, it's now allowed Werner to take over third place. Up front, the battle is on. And just, you know, the same battle, same players, same bat channel. Kerry Werner knows it's going off up front. He just needs to get into damage control and hope that those guys just beat each other up enough that they start to slow down. Clark recovered. Van Kempen's recovering. They're both of the mishaps on each other's wheels as they come through. One more time down the start stretch. We got 3 laps to go as we come down Club Row. Strohmeyer right before pit 1, making the pass. Coming through these tight turns. This is the technical section of this course. This is where Strohmeyer knows he has to take advantage, because he's able to go just from a standstill to full power, full speed right away. That's not really Bruner's game. Bruner's more just, he's going to crush you once he starts to accelerate over a longer period of time. But Strohmeyer's just so compact that he's able to come out of these corners and just like hurt you and get out ahead right away. So the more turns, the better for Strohmeyer. The more straights and just power sections, the better for Bruner. And there it is. It's exactly what we're talking about. That is leg 1 on our power cube. And Bruner has put in his biggest effort that we've seen today. This is looking serious for Eric Bruner. He turned onto the beginning of the power cube, put in a huge effort, started to accelerate, and Strohmeyer unable to match Eric Bruner out front smoothly through. He will make this right-hand turn, head up towards Mansion Hill. Strohmeyer in the wheels, but not looking like he's able to stay with Bruner. Just look at the cadence of Bruner versus the cadence of Strohmeyer, and that gap is starting to grow. And here is our chase once again for third. I was like, these guys are racing for third, but they did a great job. Caught up, reintegrated with the front two, but now they're back on their own again in that same battle that they were on lap 2. Van Kempen leading the way to Mansion Hill. He is just taking a lot of confidence off of his second place finish yesterday, trying to make that a habit. Just get on another podium, continue to improve in this North American scene. Breakout race yesterday. Would love to have another one today. Werner, a little bit of an issue clipping back in, which allows Van Kempen to get a few more bike lengths. Tyler Clark behind there, but they all seem to be evenly spaced here, and this battle will continue for third place. Farther ahead, Strohmeyer doing all he can to try to catch back up with Bruner. As the more exciting battle happens behind, Van Kempen now leads the way. Werner behind him, Clark the third. All of these riders, again, looking for that last podium spot as they finish up another lap, and they'll have 2 laps to go. We see Bruner down low, still just pushing, with Strohmeyer looking a little less incentivized to get back on that wheel. That gap may have gone out to the point where he's gonna think about another day. You know, he's not gonna slow down to the point that these guys are gonna catch up, but at the same time, catching Bruner just may not be in the cards for Strohmeyer with 2 laps to go and a growing gap. Tyler Clark coming on the inside, making the move past Van Kempen, past Werner, into the final leg of the power cube until he makes that right turn toward Mansion Hill. Again, that's, they all know it's coming. They don't know from who or which one's going to be successful, but everyone's looking to attack at that spot because you want to be first here. We see Strohmeyer going across up top. That's what the gap is. Tyler Clark leading the way on the bottom. He'll dismount here and head up to the top of Mansion Hill. Clark and Van Kempen up smoothly. Werner losing a couple bike lengths as he comes through, but he'll be able to get back on that wheel when they get into these longer stretches, especially this downhill. Let's see what he can do as far as closing up the gap. And he's right back there. Onto the flyover. Move back to pit 2. We got Bruner just cruising still, just checking in on him out front. Strohmeyer still chasing. But our battle that we're concentrating on is for third place. 1 Canadian, 2 Americans, 2 North Carolina guys. We got Jules Van Kempen. Looked like he was trying to get up there and possibly make a move. You could see it. You could see him just thinking about it if he could make the pass there. But with so many turns coming up, it's a tough place to do it. Strohmeyer not slowing down. He's putting in the effort. Come through these tricky last turns before the flyover and the finishing stretch and the bell for 1 lap to go. Tyler Clark looking like he's the stronger of the 3 as they finish up this lap. And here we go. 1 lap to go for Eric Bruner. Strohmeyer just cruising through, trying to close down that gap. 1 last ditch effort to get back on there and try to make this a race for the win. But this one looks like it's in the bag for Eric Bruner. As Jules Van Kempen, he thought about it last lap in this same spot. He almost practiced. Last lap was a practice for that pass. He's able to make it successfully here over Clark, take the lead, get down low, really just jam into those posts, making it as close as possible without hitting them, cutting off those apex of those turns. Van Kempen leading the way, and here comes Werner. Werner trying to pass Clark. He's able to do it. He doesn't want Van Kempen to get too far ahead. I told you he's wily. He was just sitting back there the whole time. Looked like maybe he didn't have it today, and then when he needs it, Werner's able just to find that power and just get right back where he needs to be, and that's on Jules Van Kempen's wheel. Looks like Van Kempen and Werner are starting to distance Clark. Clark looked the stronger of the three a lap ago, but not so here. Here comes Kerry Werner every lap. You know, it's you don't have to be smart to figure this one out. Making the inside pass, beautiful move right there by Werner. Veteran move, being able to get first on this final lap to Mansion Hill. He's been in so many battles at Charm City where it comes down to Mansion Hill for the win, and it's no different when you're battling for third spot. He knew that he had to be out front there. He does it, gets that accomplished. Oh, has to go foot out though. Give a little push kick on the top of the hill. That was pretty nice with the hillside foot out, pushing. Really nice move to be able to keep it together and not lose any momentum for Werner. You got Van Kempen trying to get in an arrow tuck behind, trying to keep up with Kerry Werner. Werner looking for that podium spot. Did what he needs to do to get ahead. He had that one place that you can pass successfully, took advantage of that. And now we're back into these technical sections before the end. We'll be first to a flyover. We have the Oasis. We got Pit 2. We got the off cambers at the end of the lap. And then it's home free for him. But Jules Van Kempen knows what it's like to be on the second step of a podium now, so he's not going to let Kerry Werner have that final step without a fight. Here they come, heading towards Pit 2. Werner with about a 3 bike length lead over Van Kempen, up and out of the saddle and just extending through Pit 2. That was a ferocious move. Van Kempen not able to match it. If he stays upright, that should be enough for Werner to take that third podium spot. Here we are with our tricky off cambers at the end of the lap. Looks like about a 3-4 second lead. They've actually caught Strohmeyer almost. Strohmeyer right up ahead of Werner. Werner with those attacks was able to actually close down on Andrew Strohmeyer. But he knows he isn't going to be able to catch him with just a finishing straight left, but being able to distance himself from Jules Van Kempen and Clark is just good enough. There is Eric Brunner taking the win. Another win for Brunner. Another second place for Strohmeyer. They just keep going back and forth and back and forth. The only difference in this series is Kerry Werner comes home for third place, Van Kempen behind him for fourth. The only difference in the series right now is with his issues yesterday, Brunner did not get second place. Therefore, he falls point-wise a little bit behind Strohmeyer. So Strohmeyer now takes the lead in the Trek USCX series going into the final round next week in Wisconsin. And we will have that coverage for you. Let's listen to our winner, Eric Brunner.
Today's race, you were able to keep the same color shoes on, so that seemed like a positive start at first. And after that, it looked like this course really set up for you.
Yeah, I was quite frustrated after yesterday, and just I never got back into it mentally. So I spent a lot of time last night and this morning just trying to think about like what would I do differently, and ultimately like there's not a lot I would do differently physically, but mentally I had to just kind of reset, and sometimes that sets me up for a good Sunday. So coming in with not low expectations, but just kind of only one way to go was nice, and just got out front early again today, and did the best I could.
Yeah, going back to yesterday, we saw the crash before the barriers, but then what happened with the shoe issue, and was that holding you back trying to get back at first?
I just slid out and my BOA popped off, so my shoe was quite loose. At first I tried to pop it back on because it wasn't really damaged or dirty seemingly, but it wasn't really something I could do while riding, at least riding hard, and so I just cranked the shoe down and did. Unfortunately, I had to do a full half a lap because it happened right after the pit, switch the shoe, and then but by then I was like just kind of angry with myself, and also lost quite a bit of time by that point. So I knew I wasn't going to win. I actually thought I could get that group, and then that didn't help when I was not doing a good job of closing that gap, and so I just stayed where I was.
All right, well, let's talk about a happier day going today. Just looking at the changes, heading up to Mansion Hill, there were just these 4 long stretches, and then the climb up there. Just knowing your strengths, it almost seemed like you had your choice of where you wanted to attack.
Yeah, it was quite a hard section and a little bit of recovery, but mainly just kind of an increasing difficulty effort all the way up there. So I got to the front early again today, kind of took the whole shot and snuck on the inside in the first corner and then just pressed the pace. And I knew that it would benefit me to get rid of as many people as possible. I didn't really expect to get rid of Stroh or maybe even Clark or Werner early, but just I think the harder the race, the better for me. And yeah, and then nobody wanted to come through. Stroh didn't want to come through, so maybe that ended up being a little frustrating for me, especially with how hot it was, that I was the only one pushing the pace. But I think that was a good sign. I knew that I was putting him on the ropes if that was the case.
It looked like before you made that decisive attack, it looked like there was the long climb up to Mansion Hill, and one lap, and I may be reading this wrong, it looked like both of you tried to attack at the same time and separated yourself from the rest of the field. You got that gap, but it looked like you wanted to go, he wanted to go, and then both of y'all just went.
I'm not sure, but I imagine that Stroh wanted to get there first, but I figured that would be the case. And so, yeah, basically every time we hit that hill, I would ride pretty hard on the first part, and then once we made that final corner before the last part of the climb, I would just go full gas to the top.
And then for the decisive move, it really came on that right-hander, I think like 3-4 turns before you even got to Mansion Hill. Was that in your head that was a place, or it just was the time to go?
It ended up working in my favor, but actually I went hard there the previous lap, tried to keep going for a while because I knew that both of us were probably pretty close to the limit. Stroh countered me, and it was pretty strong for a little while, but I could tell he didn't have much left, and he really slowed down then when he sat up. I'm like, okay, this is the time. Like, I don't have any choice of when to go.
So we got Wisconsin next week, just because of the crash and everything yesterday. It put you a little farther back in series points. So what's the plan now for Wisconsin? Last 2 races.
I don't know. I haven't even looked at the points, and I don't know if I will. But it's like I said the other day. It's just every race counts the same, and it's just one race at a time. So I'm gonna try to win them, and if I can win the series, great. Probably I end up second, but I'm just gonna do my best each race.
Awesome. Well, great job out there today.
Yeah, thank you.